Hey y'all, welcome back to Whiteboard Wednesdays. Today I am getting into a topic that definitely needs to get discussed, and that is you are not behind, you're just focused on what you cannot control. And so, what inspired this topic is recently I was having a conversation with someone I know, and they are having, difficulties in some of the relationships in their life. And when explaining the situation to me, they kept talking about, but they. And I had to stop this person because I was like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't care about them. What about you? What do you need? You're so focused on what they need to do and what you want them to do and what they need to say. But like, what about you? What are you doing to amend the situation, to get the outcome that you want from the situation? What can you do? Because you're deferring all this control and this responsibility to other people, but you don't want to deal with the consequences of the decisions that they would make. Right, exactly. And so many people are walking around exhausted, not because they're doing too much, even though that is true too, but because they're focused on the wrong things. And so oftentimes we get stuck in focusing on what we can't control and ignoring what we can. And oftentimes this can make us feel like victims. This can put us in a predicament where we are so focused on things outside of us that we feel helpless and hopeless, that something can change within our circumstances, that we can do something to change our circumstances. And so on this first slide here, we see the differentiation between internal locus of control and external locus of control. And essentially, the locus of control is what you believe influences your life most. So if that is external, that might be other people, that might be luck, that might be timing. So we might hear things like, there's nothing I can do about my future, or why bother trying? Whatever is meant to happen will happen, or I go with the flow, luck, fate, and religion control my future. Whereas someone who has a more internal locus of control and a stronger internal locus of control, they take accountability without taking on everything. So this might sound like, I can determine my future. My passion and my hard work help me achieve my goals, and I am in control of my life and its direction. This does not discount that things happen to us. There are things outside of our control that happen to us. So we're going to get a little bit into that a little bit more in the next slide. But it's not to negate that things happen to us. When those things happen to us, however, do we sit in that and feel helpless and hopeless, or do we try to look internally and figure out, what can I do to make this circumstance better for me? And better is gonna look different for different people. Or what can I do to that makes things look different than my circumstances, if better is not the qualifier that you want to use. So circle of concern is everything that affects you. And so we see this on the left. And this is oftentimes how reactive people act. So when one has a large circle of concern and a small circle of control, a lot of the time and their energy is wasted towards reacting to issues that they can't control. So this might look like worrying about who likes you, worrying about what others say or do, even on social media, whether that be about you or nothing concerning you. Who's getting married and what your ex is doing. None of those things are in your control. You're concerned about them, and maybe some of them rightfully so. But you have no control, input, decision making in those relationships. Now, when we switch over to the circle of control, this is how proactive people typically act. And so when one has a small circle of concern and a large circle of control, a lot of time and energy is focused on issues that are within their control. And so this looks like our boundaries. This looks like what you say, what you feel, what you believe. This looks like your habits, your mindset, your values, your healing, where you live, what you buy, places you travel to, who's in your circle and who's not in your circle. You get to control all of those things, whereas we don't get to control what the celebrities got going on in their lives, and we don't get to control, who our president is for real, and the decisions that he makes in those positions. We don't get to control what happens to the weather, as much as I'm sure a lot of us would love to know and to dictate what the weather is like. We can't control what's going to happen in nature. And so when we shift our perspective and mindset and are centered in a internal locus of control that is focused on you and not concerned with others, um, this is where the power truly lies. And so this was something that I really, really had to work through, especially as it came to content creation, because I was very, very much caught up in things that concerned me, but I could not control. So I was worried about how were y'all going to receive the message that I was putting out. I was worried about, would y'all like it? Would y'all misinterpret it? Would you judge me or think that I was too much? And while all of those are, maybe rightful concerns, I cannot control them. I can't control who watches this. I can't control how they perceive it, because their circumstances might make them see the world and others completely different than I see the world and others. And so when I present this message, it might not land on them the way that I intended it to, because I don't know their circumstances. So I can't control, my message and how it's going to land for every single person that it's going to watch, because each person is different. And so when I let go of worrying about things outside of my control and focus on things inside of my control, it made content creation easier for me. It made me less in my head and preoccupied about like what others were going to think. And I feel like it motivated me to want to get on here and create content. When I was concerned about how y'all were going to receive it, I did not want to post content, because at that point, like, what's the point if I can't control that message? But it's not for me to control. What I want to do is make sure I'm putting the message out there. So I'm doing what's in my power. And so, like I said, the more energy you give to things outside of your control, the more powerless you'll feel. And so when the situation doesn't turn out how you have hoped, we often will spiral. But in reality, that was something that was never probably yours to carry in the first place. It was not something that you should have been trying to control in the first place. And so one of the theories that I've really come to love and enjoy, and this was actually told to me by my therapist, is the let them theory by Mel Robbins, I think her name is. And it's essentially like, let people think what they want to think, let people do what they want to do, let them say what they want to say. Like, that has nothing to do with you. You do what you got to do regardless. Let them, with a period on it, let them. And so you do not need to chase or control anyone else's direction or decisions. You just need to trust yours. And you do not have to fix everything. Only do what you got to do to stay aligned. And so I want to talk about the wheel of wellness, or the well-being wheel, however you choose to identify this. What I've been hearing lately in sessions is this idea that, oh, I'm falling behind. And I think we've talked about timelines before, but I think this message is related but different, in the sense that oftentimes, when we think that we're behind, it's because we're comparing the things that are visible. So we're comparing, oh, that person got the career that they want at 25, and I'm 25 and I don't have it, so I must be behind. Or, I'm 21 and that person is in a steady relationship, they're engaged, and I, don't even know what I want in a partner, so I'm behind. Or, oh my gosh, like, they just bought their own house and I'm still living at home with my mom trying to get my life together before I'm ready to take on, that commitment, because I already have debt. Or, oh, they're making so much money, I'm not making as much money as I should be at this age, like, I must be behind. And so we start comparing these things that we see other people have that are very much visible. But wellness is way more than what you post. And we often, like I said, get caught up on those things, the social aspect, the environmental aspect, maybe even the occupational aspect, the intellectual aspect. But we forget about, the financial wellness. Is this the best decision for you financially, or is that going to put you in debt? So the person staying at home with their mom, there's no shame in that, because you're trying to do what's financially feasible and responsible for your financial well-being, because that looks different than the other person's. We don't see oftentimes people's spiritual journeys and their connections to higher powers, whatever that may be, or their spirituality, and whatever that may look like. We don't often see that. not, while we do sometimes see people in the gym and eating healthy and doing all of those things, we don't know what other physical things that they are overcoming and trying to be well at. So maybe that is eating more healthy. Maybe that is being more active in the gym. Maybe that is stopping smoking and drinking. Maybe that is going to the doctor. We never know what it is that someone might be doing physically. Emotionally, there are so many people that are in therapy trying to do better. There are so many people that are, reading and doing that inner work to be better people. And whatever that emotional journey may look like. And so we often get caught up in these things that are visible to the outside, and we want that external validation instead of having that validation come from within. It's like, this is my journey and I am proud of where I am. And I think oftentimes when we get caught up on focusing on other people's well-being and where they are thriving per se, is where is your focus? What are your priorities? And that will dictate maybe what areas of wellness you need to be focusing on. And that is, it's okay for that to look different than someone else's. It's okay that, I might be on my spiritual journey where the other person might be on an occupational journey. And so they are, in it when it comes to getting the career of their dreams. Whereas, I might be more focused on my connection with my spirituality and whatever that looks like. If that's praying, reading, reading scriptures, whatever it may look like. And so another area that I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into this before we end, is the social aspect. And I think we often get caught up in this idea of social wellness, but we forget that social wellness isn't just romantic relationships. Social wellness can look like having those relationships with friends, having those relationships with your family, having those relationships with, other loved ones, other people that are important to you. That does not always mean it has to be a romantic relationship. And so, fine, you might not be focused on romantics right now, but that doesn't mean you can't still be working on your social well-being in the domain of being a better friend and what it means to show up wholeheartedly to all of your friendships. And so I want to kind of validate everyone's experience in that, like, stop comparing yourselves. Like, I think I've said it before, like, they did not lie when they said comparison is truly the thief of joy, because you are now sitting here and you can't even be proud of all the things that you've done, all the things that you've worked so hard to do, because you're sitting here and minimizing everything that you've done because it does not look like someone else. There are people that are 25 that I went to high school with that are married, have kids already, have a home, like a house, all of those things. I am in a committed relationship for several years. I still live in an apartment. I have two fur babies, two doggies that get a lot of my love and my attention. I'm a sister, I am a friend, I am a therapist. Like, I have so many roles. I am focused on so many other things than, maybe those external things that other people at my age have done. And that is okay. That does not make me any less behind. That just means my journey looked a little different and I am a-okay with that. That might mean that they were able and had the capacity to handle certain things that at an age before 25, I was not able to handle, and that is okay. Where you are in your journey is okay. So y'all, please, please stop comparing yourselves to everybody else. You are not behind. You are building in an area maybe that other people cannot see. So please, 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 please stop comparing yourself to everyone else's timeline and allow your internal compass to lead you in places that are authentic and true to who you are. And so your peace lies within your circle, your power lies within your choices, and your alignment lives in the wellness domain that you have been ignoring because it doesn't look shiny maybe online to other people. So I say all this to say, focus on what is in your control and let the rest move how it's going to move. I will see y'all in the next one. I hope this message landed for someone. Leave a comment on what your favorite part of this message was, and I hope to see you guys next week. Bye.